Almost 20 years ago, we were introduced to a whole new type of Audi, the Q7. In the late 2000s, Audi was doing some really interesting things. We had the B7 RS4, we had the R8. Audi was doing some really cool stuff in motorsport. And then on the more sensible side of things, they gave us a large SUV, which would result in a whole lineup of crossovers and SUVs. The Q3, Q5, Q8. I think soon we're going to have a Q9. But the Q7 was going to be that flagship. It was going to be practical. It was going to be large for a growing family. And I think it did deliver on what it was going to be offering. Today in 2025, there's a long list of vehicles in this class now where you're looking at your screens and you're thinking, what is the best choice? What is the best crossover money can buy at around $70,000 to $80,000? Then you look at BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Infiniti, Lexus, Acura. The list just goes on and on. But here we have the Q7, which has stood the test of time. And I think for this generation, this is one special SUV that shouldn't be overlooked. In today's video, we're going to check out what the Q7 has to offer us. We're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why, if you're looking at buying a three-row luxury crossover right now, you want something that's more upscale, premium, but also fun to drive, then maybe taking a look at the Q7 might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Audi Peabody in Peabody, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Q7. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Audi inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the Audi Q7 we have today, you're looking at a starting cost of just over $73,000. This is the Premium Plus, sitting between the Premium and Prestige in the lineup. Now, the Premium Plus is the go-to for a lot of Americans, mostly because you do get a nice blend of technology and luxury, and you're not spending close to $80,000 with that Prestige. Although Audi tends to give you a lot of options to choose from, whether it's packages, but then also powertrains. You can go with a Turbo 4, you can go with the V6, you can go with the SQ7, getting a more dynamically tuned SUV out of this platform. But with the Q7 we have today, this might be the ideal choice for a lot of you, with it being more family friendly and also more upscale and premium in nature. As you walk around the Q7, it is starting to show its age a bit. It doesn't look as new and as fresh as the new Q5 and A5. A new generation should be coming very shortly, although this vehicle is aging like fine wine, much like we're going to find out for the interior. Now, as you take a look at the front fascia, first off, I want to point out just how much airflow is making its way into that engine. Take a look at that grille, but then also the lower intakes. They are massive, sucking in that air when you are on the highway and when you are cruising around the city and suburbs. So a lot of airflow to cool off that V6 we have on our model today. Also, I do love the satin chrome accents that we have outlining that grille and the lower portion of the front bumper. Very classy, also very signature for Audi. You are going to have full LED headlights up front, giving you better visibility at night or in adverse weather conditions, also giving you a modern appearance. What I also like too, and it's very subtle on our models, that with those lower grills, you have gloss black trim. So really nice, very nice setup there, and it gives you a multicolor exterior design to this vehicle. It has that sleek front fascia that I think a lot of you are most certainly looking for in this class. Then as you make your way over to the side profile, there's actually a lot to talk about here. Typically, this is a boring section of any vehicle, but we have some substance here to this model. So let's begin with the wheels. You're looking at 21-inch alloys, which I know a lot of you might be complaining about because, oh, that will create more road noise, the ride quality will be diminished. However, there's a few things that sets the Q7 apart from some three-row crossovers at this price point. First off, you're going to have dual pane side windows. That will lower the road noise a bit. You also have air suspension and adaptive suspension at that, and that leads me into ground clearance. So for a standard mode, you're looking at right around 7.3 inches, and then for off-road mode, close to 9.5. So more than enough room to take on snow-covered roadways and take on those elements. Now, what you're always going to find here is that there's no cladding whatsoever, giving you a full paint finish, an upscale and modern look to this crossover. You're also going to have a nice side blade here in satin chrome. Now, you will have body color match side mirror caps to go along with turn signal indicators, to go along with blind spot detection for added safety, and then more continuity here with the satin chrome accents outlining the windows, and you will have your roof rails as well. Then as you make your way around to the back here, the first thing I want to point out are those LED taillights and that satin chrome strip that runs the length of the rear fascia. Very classy, very nice. Now, LED lighting for the front and rear fascias giving you that modern look. For the lower portion of the rear bumper, you're going to have some cladding here, and that masks your parking sensors for the rear. But then you also have some more satin chrome or brushed aluminum accents, and we got to talk about that tow hook mount there. So with the Q7 that we have here today with the V6, you're going to have close to 7,700 pounds of towing capacity. So you can do a lot here with the Q7. You can go off-road, you can tow a boat or RV, you can have your family inside, you can have a luxury SUV. This vehicle is very flexible and also one of the more well-rounded options in this class. Powering our Audi Q7 today is going to be a 3-liter turbocharged V6 engine, producing 335 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission, and we do have a 48-volt mild hybrid system to aid in efficiency and overall performance. The key difference here between the Q7 and the BMW X5 is that with the X5 it's only an inline 6 for a base model, whereas with the Q7 you can go with a turbocharged 4-cylinder. However, I think the V6 is better equipped to handle an SUV of this size, to move it along and to give you an exhilarating driving experience. Whereas the Turbo 4, yes, more efficient, but it's not going to be as fun, and we are seeing some rivals dropping their V6s for Turbo 4s, which is very, very sad in this class. Now, as expected, you are going to have Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system for better year-end capability and versatility, and that gets me into fuel economy here, because that's going to be the key if you are looking at buying a model in this class. You're looking at right around 18 miles per gallon in the city and 23 miles per gallon on the highway, which is not the best in this segment, which is why going with the Turbo 4 might make more sense, although if you're someone looking for fun, this would be the way to go. Hopping inside our Q7 we have today, we're greeted by power adjustable, heated and ventilated leather trim seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side having 2-position memory for added convenience. With these seats, they are plush, they're supportive, and they're very, very comfortable. Now, bolstering is not aggressive at all, which I'm not surprised by with the Q7, because this is not going to be a sports tune crossover or SUV. It's not like a BMW X5. It's not like an Acura MDX. This is something a little different. It's also not like its more expensive cousin, the Porsche Cayenne. What you are going to find here, though, is a driving environment that is comfortable, that's suitable for you and your family, and also feels very upscale and premium. In front of you will be a heated leather-wrapped steering wheel. It feels really nice in the hands. Aggressive 10-2 and firm 9-3 grips. There's also paddle shifters as well to rotate the gears yourself. But now we get to the good part here with the Q7, and that is the dashboard layout and Audi's virtual cockpit. I have missed this from Audi right now in the Q5, A5, S5, and I'm so glad to see that Audi has not changed that right now for the Q7, but that's probably coming in a few years. So in front of you, you have that full digital gauge cluster. You can change up the layout to your liking. For me, it's displaying the maps, which, you know, just the way it's ergonomically designed, the graphics, the resolution. This was so good. This was so good. To see what Audi has done with the Q5 and A5 just hurts me when I see this in front of me. So I think you're going to like the fact that it is in depth, that it is intuitive, and even now, with the newer generations and the newer software that we're seeing from Audi, this is aging like fine wine. Then as you make your way over to the infotainment system, you can have a dual touchscreen setup here. The top screen is your main MMI user interface, and the bottom screen is really for all your climate control settings. So you can control your 4-zone climate control, your AC, front rear defrosters, fan speed, fan direction, also your heated and ventilated seats, and at the top will be your auto start stop, hill descent control, and you can turn off the screen as well. So all this is right here within arm's reach, and at the bottom of this lower screen is going to be your drive mode select, your traction control on and off, and then your hazards. So even though you don't have physical buttons per se, I think this is easier to use than what we're now finding in a lot of new vehicles right now. For your top screen, you have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility to go along with onboard navigation, and we do have the Bang & Olufsen sound system to amplify the audio of your favorite music. On the left side of the screen will be quick access icons for your home screen, then of course your radio, your Bluetooth connectivity, your smartphone, and then your onboard navigation. But then when you do click on your home screen, now you have all your widgets in place for radio, media, online media, your navigation, your phone apps, vehicle is all right here. And the best part is the resolution, quality, and responsiveness is top notch. There is no lagging here. It doesn't look old, it doesn't look outdated. It's still intuitive in that way compared to what you now are going to be finding in a lot of new Audi products and a lot of new products in general right now in this particular market. Probably more importantly for this model though is going to be your safety features, more specifically your camera angle. So you are going to have a top view, side views, obviously a rear backup camera with trajectory, and front facing camera with trajectory. But the big one though is your 3D view. So you can have a bird's eye view and you can see all around your vehicle. This is really cool stuff. I know it's becoming common now in the automotive industry, but a few years ago when Audi was kind of the only ones implementing this, it was really a cool feature to have, and it gives you a lot more safety and visibility when you are backing out of tight spots or parking on a city street. So I think a lot of you are most certainly going to like that. Now, as we continue on heading towards the center console, again, we have that screen here, but then beneath that will be your push button start, your camera systems, your park assist features, and then a physical dial for the volume and tuning. For the center console itself, you have your gear selector here, which I would love to see still make its way in newer Audi products, but it is what it is. You have electronic parking brake, and then next that will be 2 cup holders and a 12-volt outlet. For the standard storage compartment, you are going to have enough room for another smartphone or probably a wallet or two, 2 USB-C inputs, and then to round out the front seating area, above will be a panoramic moonroof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now for passengers in the second row, you're looking at right on 38.8 inches, which falls just a bit short compared to a BMW X5, and then just for reference, the Kia Telluride and Hyundai Palisade. However, the differences between this and a BMW X5 for interior space is marginal. A lot of you won't even notice the difference. You got to keep in mind too that you have a third row here with the Q7, whereas with the X5, that is not going to be the case. Now for tall passengers, they will not be hitting their head on the headliner, even with the panoramic moonroof. So you can definitely have some taller passengers sit in the back here. You can go on those longer road trips with the family. When it comes to the seats though, they're comfortable, they're plush, much like you have up front. Also, the bolstering isn't that bad either. Now, I think you can try squeezing in a third person in the center thanks to the width of the Q7. The center hump is pretty aggressive though, so keep that in mind. That might take away from legroom here and there, depending on how tall or how large your passengers are. When it pertains to the amenities that we have here for the Q7, we are going to have vents on the B-pillars, much like we saw with the X5, and we will have air vents for the center console, so a lot of airflow for the second row. Best of all, you are going to have dual zone climate control and heated outboard seats. So during those winter months, everyone will be nice and warm back here. Better yet, with the Q7, you will have some sunshades here to block out the haters. And also, when it is sunny out, like today, that sunlight won't be gleaming down on you when you're looking at your laptops or smartphones. And to round out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now, since we do have the cargo cover installed on our model today, we won't be taking a look at the third row seating area, but there's really not much to write home about because you're looking at below 30 inches of legroom, which isn't class leading and just falls a bit short compared to other 3-row crossovers and SUVs in this market. Now, that isn't to say that the Q7 is not competitive, it's not going to be suitable, but keep in mind a lot of its closer rivals from Germany don't have 3 rows available. You know, you think about that BMW X5. So the Q7 is trying to give you more flexibility, but is it necessary to have that third row up all times? Not really. Also, when the third row seats are up, that diminishes cargo capacity significantly. So let's get into that now. So when the third row seats are up, you're looking at right on 14.2 cubic feet of room, which, as you guys know, I want to see more than 20 cubic feet of room. So it's not going to be the most practical in that way, especially in this class with vehicles that can't accommodate a third row. Now, when the second row seats are up, though, the Q7 is actually very competitive. You're looking at just over 35.5 cubic feet of room, which would fall right in line with that BMW X5, with that Mercedes-Benz GLE. So if you don't need the third row, if that's not necessary for you, this vehicle is actually very spacious. And then finally, with the second row seats folded, you're looking at just under 70 cubic feet, which again falls right in line with that BMW X5. So I don't think practicality is going to be too much of an issue here unless you are using this as a 3-row SUV. On the left side of the cargo area, for one, you are going to have some netting here for some smaller items, maybe a couple water bottles, car detail equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. Then you're going to notice some buttons here, so you can lower and raise the rear suspension. That way, when you have heavier items, you're not scraping that rear bumper, which is pretty nice, but also that air suspension does come in handy for the on-road driving experience. And the last 4 buttons closer to the third row is to lower and raise that third row. So I'd love to see that here, especially for a vehicle in this class. But now that we've gone over the practicality, Let's take the Q7 out for a test ride to see how it compares to its rivals. It's for the on-road driving experience where there's a clear distinction between this model for the Q7 and the BMW X5. And we talked about this at great lengths with that X5 review, where BMW is kind of in a league of their own, where they have a performance-oriented crossover, even without the M Sport package, and even for a base model. Whereas Audi is going to give you a luxurious experience and a tech-filled experience that I don't think right now anyone is matching, and also when it comes to the ergonomics, is going to give you anything close to what Audi's giving you here. Personally, I feel the Audi Q7 is the middle ground in this class. Unlike with Mercedes-Benz, which is a huge tank of an SUV, that you feel that with the handling, especially for a 350, it's not the most enjoyable SUV out there. BMW has the X5 that is all performance all the time, and it's very exhilarating. Whereas Audi, you have a crossover that kind of balances it all, but isn't strong in one category over the other. However, with that being said, we are going to get on the highway here and see what this V6 has to offer us today. It has been a long time since I have featured a Q7, so I'm curious to see what this generation is going to be giving us and providing us. In dynamic mode, it's pretty quick. I like the aggressive gear shifts as well. That speaks to me, even though I think for a lot of you looking for a luxury 3-row crossover, that's not going to be a seller here for you. You want refinement, you want smoothness, and you're going to get that. But in dynamic mode, you can also have some fun as well. Now at highway speeds, interior insulation is top notch here. You know, even with the larger tires that we have here on this model, you don't hear the outside world. And better yet, no road noise, no wind noise. It's an isolating experience. Exactly what you're looking for in this class. Also, it's the smoothness. Remember, this is built on the MLB Evo platform, so you are going to have a lot of refinement, a lot of quality, and that's what the Q7 is going to provide here. I will say, though, that when it comes to steering input and the handling, that's where the Q7 does falter a bit. That's where it's not going to be as fun or as enjoyable or even as confidence-inspiring when you are on a winding back road. But for those of you looking for a point A to point B vehicle that's luxurious for you and your family, you're going to the soccer games, you can do all of that here with the Q7. What I also think a lot of you are going to like too is that you have a very upscale driving environment, especially for a vehicle like this one coming in under $80,000. I like the dual touchscreens here, and I also love Audi's virtual cockpit. To me, this was the best generation. This was the best blend of technology from Audi. They moved away from all of this with the new generations for the Q5 and A5. And I just hope that Audi doesn't do the exact same for the Q7 when the next generation comes up, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that. But this right here, for one last full gas-powered SUV that is tech-focused, that the ergonomics are perfect, that's this Q7 right here. If you're someone looking for an SUV like this, that's of this size, it has 3 rows, that's spacious and practical, you're going to like the Q7. You're going to like everything about it. The performance is where it's just a little held back. But like I said before, I think it's the middle ground out of the German rivals. And then when you're comparing this to a Volvo XC90, Genesis GV80, Infiniti QX60, you know, that's where the Q7 is a much better choice. A much better choice in that way because it balances everything out. Where it's not too soft, it's not too sedated, not too numb, but it gives you the right balance of also being fun and enjoyable to drive. And the adaptive suspension is going to make a world of a difference too. So this is one of those SUVs and crossovers where you can put it through its paces. You can also put it in a number of different situations and settings, and it will perform flawlessly in that way. And that's why I think with the Q7, it's a great all-arounder. I don't want to say it's a jack of all trades because I don't know if it really is, but it's one of those crossovers that's very well-rounded. It can do it all. It can be comfortable, it can be relaxing, and then when you pop it into dynamic mode, it can be pretty fun. It's just handling-wise, and with the suspension, it's not sports-tuned. So you're forced to go with the SQ7, which, you know, isn't that major of a sacrifice. I would just say that if you're someone looking for performance, the X5 is going to be there for you. And then coming back to Volvo and Genesis, they're very one-dimensional. The Q7 is not going to be one-dimensional. So this is one of those crossovers and SUVs that I think a lot of you are going to love and enjoy. This is not a Porsche Cayenne either, so there's a clear distinction there. And I think that's what a lot of you are looking for. You want luxury, you want quality, you want softness, and you have that here with this model. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this review for the Audi Q7. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys next time.